At First Choice Bank, we know you can't always make it before the bank closes. With our integrated teller, you can talk to a live person as late as 7 p.m. on weekdays and noon on Saturdays. It's not just an ATM, it's an ITM. First Choice Bank, your choice for banking.
Hey, you there! Ever try to do something in under 6 minutes? Anything, like say, grow a beard. I bet you can't. At Sweet Pepper's Deli, you get quality food in under 6 minutes. Now how about that? Sweet Pepper's Deli, life is sweet.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 6.
Welcome into Mississippi Live Weather at 6. I'm meteorologist Gabe Maynor, live here from the Room to Room Weather Center, where we are walking through a pretty action-packed end to our work week after a calm and clear week all week long. Lots to do with this week and a complete flip in that forecast going forward. Of course, our headlines are that new drought monitor. We'll be tracking that here in just a moment. Our next one is that high school and college football forecast. Yes, we are just about 24 hours from kickoff and another week of high school football. Excited to join the Houston Hilltoppers as they take on, who was it? Itawamba. Oh my word, I always forget that. But Itawamba versus Houston, excited to be out there tomorrow. If you've not voted for our Band and Spirit Squad of the Week, there is still time. Go ahead and give it a vote for your favorite cheer and band squad. And we are going to be breaking down Saturday's severe weather threat and, of course, what to expect, the timing to expect it, and some of those short-range model runs at least giving us a better idea on that forecast. But let's jump back to the here and now because we do still have another day with beautiful conditions. First 12 has 78 degrees by 7, cooling off overnight into the low 60s for the start of our Friday morning. But you might have seen in the push notification that we are joined alongside our chief meteorologist, Matt Laupon, in a much warmer climate than what we have here in North Mississippi. Currently, it looks like you're on a train, Matt. Just kind of tell us what you've been seeing, tell us what you've been doing, walk us through all things land down under.
Well, okay, let's be clear. We've done trains, we've done automobiles and planes, so plane, trains, and automobiles in this one here. Yeah, we're here just outside of Cairns, Australia here in the freshwater community, or I guess just past the freshwater community here on a train. As you look out the window here, that's sugarcane, believe it or not, one of the main exports of this part of Australia. You know, we're heading here on the Kuranda Scenic Railway. I'm on a car that dates back to the early 1900s. And we are going to be going up into the rainforest, believe it or not. Obviously seeing flora and fauna that go along with that. And so this is kind of a fun ride today on the way we're going up there. Yeah, I have a big thing here that tells me a lot of this. I'll give you a couple. First of which, there's a tunnel coming up, so who knows whether or not the signal will hold up through there. But yeah, it's been humid. I mean, that's the thing that's hard for me to get my brain stretched around here. This is a tropical climate. And, they are going into their rainy season. So they've been talking about how it's just now starting to get humid. And I can't imagine what they consider really humid here. So certainly being on basically the opposite side of the planet means they are entering spring and expecting the rain to start picking up in the next little bit. So we are going to be traveling today again up into the rainforest as we enjoy things down here outside of Cairns, Australia. And I'm going to appreciate the good folks at MLM for sponsoring this opportunity to come out here and showcase the wonders of Australia. But as we bring Gabe back in here in a minute, you referenced the severe weather threat that we do have for the weekend. Latest guidance. Let's talk about that here for a moment. I know you're going to show, models and projections and all that stuff here in a minute. What are your thoughts?
Honestly, I think we are in the best case scenario in regards to how models have been trending. I think that it pushes it further into the night, which just the energy is not there. The instability is not going to be as prominent. And so I think this is going to be more of an Arkansas threat, and even SPC kind of lining up with that belief as they've kind of pulled that level 2 risk back, and now it's a level 1 in place for a large portion of North Mississippi. Still out in the Delta, things could get a little bit dicey, but I think that's going to be on the back end of this system, fortunately.
So peak time frame.
Peak time frame, I would say post-midnight as of right now. Our Barron model that we know and love likes to, or should I say our Strike model, likes to get a little bit aggressive and move the front a little bit faster. I'm not fully believing that just yet. Both of our long
When's it timing that out?
Right now into the evening hours, like 6, 7 p.m., somewhere in that time frame, and then clearing out by about 2 a.m., which only model doing that so far. So
Well, but admittedly, 2 days ago, GFS would have been in that category as well, right?
For sure.
So,
And
I mean, it's not shocking to see that, but I mean, that is, as you mentioned, that's probably the most aggressive way in which this all plays out, right?
For sure. The earlier it hits our area, the worse it'll be for severe weather potential, because that means there's daytime heating is a little bit heightened. You have that moisture element still in the atmosphere, but the further in the night it goes, the better our outlook looks of kind of dodging that severe weather threat. So that remains to be seen.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, main worst case scenario. So even in the worst case scenario, the strike model, the more aggressive model is correct. Is it displaying supercell?
Not supercells. No, a little bit of scattered showers out ahead.
Okay,
And
so then tornadoes are off the table largely, would you say? Even in the most aggressive projection?
Yes. And so the only potential that we have for a brief spin up, I'm talking very brief, would be embedded within that line as a cold front sweeps on through. But even then, the main front swings through on that model post sunset. So how much of that energy is still there? I just don't really have a belief on it. And a lot of that is starting to bow out and show a little bit more of those gusty winds. I would say that is our highest threat for severe weather. Tornadoes, as bottom as you can get without it being completely zero.
Okay, hey, that's considering, we haven't really had storms recently. That's kind of a good sign I'd like to see. By the way, I just got to show the mountains here. And one technical note I'll mention, Gabe, if the lower third does not want to come down, there should be a button on the stream deck in front that says clear, what does it say? It says clear something or another. I think it's lower right-hand corner of that, just in case you have trouble getting my lower third back down.
I got you. Well, I mean, I can just head over here. I'll take you live here one more time, and you can kind of show us the mountains right there, and I'll handle that behind the scenes.
Okay. One of the things also that I find interesting, this is about the first place we've actually kind of seen some homes with solar on them. And considering, again, this is a tropical climate and they do get a pretty decent amount of sun, I actually expected to see a little bit more than that. So we're here on the train, again, dating back to the early 1900s, more than 100 years that ago when this one was put together. Kind of cool. And a couple of little facts, and then I know we need to get going. I guess the engine on this, is a diesel V8. There you go. With 1,000 horsepower engine as far as that is concerned. We're going to be snaking up here into the mountains on the train, checking out the rainforest. Hopefully we'll have some video for you coming up on that as well. But live, legitimately live from the other side of the world. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopp on Mississippi Live Weather. Gabe, okay, I'll let you actually get back to the forecast for Mississippi, but I did want to have that talk back and forth on that severe weather threat for folks.
Of course, and real quick before you go, I know the tunnel is quickly approaching, so I'll try and get you real quick. I'm curious because Australia's entering their spring season. Is that their severe weather season, or do they really have one down there?
So this particular part of of Australia, they have essentially two seasons. You have the dry season, which would be winter, and the wet season, which would be summer. They do have severe weather. This part of Australia, not as much. Just the same way that, like, if you went deeper into, Mexico and Central America, you don't have a strong enough jet stream necessarily to get that. But there are parts of Australia where they do have tornadoes. I had a professor in college that actually did some studying on that. But that's not necessarily this section of Australia.
Gotcha. So they won't need you to do any wall-to-wall coverage then, right?
Well, I mean, Emily and I were joking. By the way, did I show you that I have legitimate, like, bananas from a banana stand that was next to the side of the road? Because that's how different it is. They breathe and you start thinking, if you grow bananas there and you can buy them on the side of the road, you're probably not talking about tornadoes.
You're right about that. But hey, honestly, if customs didn't exist, I would ask you to bring some back to Mississippi to see if there's a difference in authentic bananas from what we get at Walmart here. So, but, I know
I mean, most of our bananas are imported from Central America. So
that's true.
I would expect there's some similarities, but these things are huge. And I didn't even get the really big ones. I was just like, I didn't want so much that I'd have leftovers.
Is it a plantation, or plantations are completely different, right? Where it's
now they have banana farms, banana plantations, however you want to describe it. They do have those south of Cairns where we're at. Oh man, I wonder if I can show you out the window over there. If we're starting to get a little higher, you can kind of see maybe out the windows there. But yeah, we were talking actually about the fact that they don't really do agritourism in this of the country, at least not yet. And that's become such a big deal across parts of the world. In the U.S., I think there'd be a lot of people who'd like to come and see some of these farms. How do they do this kind of stuff? So Anyway, lots of cool things, and hopefully I'll be smarter on all that when we talk next.
Well, I realized I said plantations. I meant plantains. And that was what I was trying to get across. Plantains, like the bigger bananas.
Oh, plantains.
Yes. I don't know what I was thinking.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they do plantains or not.
Okay, I gotcha. Well, you know, you're learning each day. You might find out. They might do plantains tomorrow. Who knows? You might see a stand for it, right?
Yep.
Well, sweet.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, sweet. Matt, thank you for joining us. I know it's kind of weird being completely a day ahead, but you guys enjoy your trip. Take some video, share it with us. We've just enjoyed going on along this journey with you, and folks in the chat saying the same thing. So enjoy your trip, and we'll see you back here tonight at 10 with what else you have for us there from Australia.
Thank you. I appreciate it. We'll see y'all soon.
All right, see ya. Well, bringing it back here to the Room to Room Weather Center, and again, a big thank you to Matt for joining us. It's so freaky. He was calling. He's like, yeah, it's 9 a.m. on Friday. I said, Friday? It's Thursday. So yeah, he's enjoying his Friday. We're still in our Thursday stretch, our home stretch. But guys, we are getting closer and closer. Winona there in Montgomery County, 82 degrees, dew point 55. And that is a beautiful horizon right there. I mean, Australia is beautiful, but I don't know if they match our sunsets here in North Mississippi, and not just there in Montgomery County. If we jump over there to the Greenville area, 88 degrees, and there's that beautiful sun setting there in the distance. I mean, that is such a beautiful sunset. I cannot get over that. 88 degrees, like we mentioned, so a toasty forecast, but luckily all of that dying back as we head overnight, and going to be again a cool evening across the area. Drought monitor, as we talked about just a few moments ago, that level 4 drought still for Lowndes, Noxubee, and Pickens County. Elsewhere, level 2 drought kind of encompassing the entire area, besides a few locations with level 1 in Amory, Itawamba, Choctaw, Itala, and Winston. That level 3 drought building a little bit more towards east, Calhoun County included within that, and starting to reach more into Webster County. That's the unfortunate part about it. So we're keeping eyes on this moving forward, but yeah, drought monitor just continues to dominate a large portion of the southeast. If you saw at our 5 o'clock broadcast, we had like a 1,000-mile stretch of just dry conditions. Well, that same stretch is currently under drought conditions, and that's, you know, it tells the tale for itself. And so we expect that to worsen unless some of these fronts can have a word about that. So Mississippi Live Weather Radar, if we expand things out and look at our surface analysis in a little bit more detail, you can see that front that we are awaiting here in North Mississippi, starting to inch closer and closer there towards the Kansas and Oklahoma area. Let's zoom it in just a bit, because I do want to say there is a severe thunderstorm tag right there as that continues to move on the east side of Arkansas. I want to see if I can swing it over here. Yeah, so that was in place for some of those gusty winds and even a few large hailstones, but that's right along that front as it's continued to transition east. That main line, though, fortunately not up to that severe potential, but not exactly as energetic of an atmosphere out there towards Nebraska and Kansas as what we'll have here in Mississippi on Saturday. So a lot of questions still, I understand that, but we will be walking through that forecast in a bit more detail as we get further into this broadcast. So just stay tuned here for the next couple of minutes. So let's bring it back here to North Mississippi, where high pressure continues to be our friend, cycling in some of that northern air, which is keeping us cool, dry, and clear. But as we get into those overnight hours, that of course starts to shift out. High pressure now a little bit more towards the east, right there around the Ohio Valley. And of course that starts to transition our winds from more of this northerly flow to more of an easterly flow. And that's just that shift that's taking place. North to east doesn't really mean too much in this type of setup that we have, but what it means is that it's starting to transition just that much more and that much closer to more of a southerly wind. And southerly winds, of course, bring in that Gulf moisture and that unstable air once again, and then kind of sets the scene for Saturday, right? So as you can see right here, Friday morning heading out the door to mostly cloudy conditions, a forecast that we have not seen in quite some time. So if you walk outside, it might look a little bit different, but still dry across the region for the most part of our Friday. So the next 24 has those dry conditions for the start of the day and all throughout our forecast. 60 degrees though with that cloud cover in the forecast keeps it more of a mild start to our Friday compared to the cooler temperatures we had earlier on this week. But as the day goes on, 81 there by noon and 86 by 3. Guys, look at the winds. East at 3 miles an hour about 6 a.m., noontime, south at 6 miles an hour. So yes, we are starting to trend in that clockwise motion, moving all the way from north to south. And that's when we'll really start to replenish a little bit more of that moisture, maybe even feeling a little bit sticky towards our Friday afternoon if a lot of that moisture does return to the forecast. So coming up in 60, Get a few more looks at that beautiful sunset here in North Mississippi. But what we'll also be discussing here in the Room to Room Weather Center will be those severe weather discussions. What exactly will we have for our Saturday, our football forecast for Friday and Saturday before the event takes place? Yeah, we'll have all the latest details, action-packed end to our work week. We'll have everything you need to know coming up here in just a minute.
Behind closed doors, something big is happening at Room to Room Tupelo.
For 3 days only, unlock hidden savings at our on-site secret warehouse sale. Furniture, rugs, accessories, everything must go. Don't wait. The secret warehouse sale ends Saturday at 6 p.m. at Room to Room.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back. You probably don't remember what you told me.
That was perfect.
But I heard every word.
Even though Gabe grew up in Alabama, Mississippi has now become his home and his family. And one thing about Gabe is he keeps his family safe.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's meteorologist Gabe Maynor.
Well, it was a sunset I promised, and a sunset you shall have. Let's go ahead and take a live look at that horizon in Tupelo. I mean, you almost have a purplish hue right there on the horizon as that sun is just above it. We'll be dipping here shortly, along with our temperatures. 81 right now, but cooling off overnight. And it has been a beautiful day here in Tupelo. It was so fun driving around downtown and seeing all the people walking the sidewalks, enjoying their day, sunglasses on, and all with family. I mean, this is really the forecast you need to be getting outside and enjoying. If I don't go to downtown tonight and see it filled with people, I'm going to be very disappointed because you guys are missing out on a spectacular forecast. Starkville, same thing for you guys down there. Cookout runs need to be happening tonight for sure. 82 degrees, and it's just a great night for any intramural games you may have, studying outside, anything you want to do. Probably not studying. Guys, it's Friday tomorrow. We need to be enjoying an early weekend, right? Of course. About 82 degrees down there in Starkville, our other college town, Oxford. Now this is a horizon. That is beautiful. You have that purple hue, the red, the orange, the blue. Oh my word. That is a sunset. 81 degrees in Oxford. Lafayette County staying on the drier side with dew points around 55 degrees, but all across North Mississippi, if you didn't plan anything this evening, you are again missing out. I'm going to keep calling you out for it because it's just a beautiful forecast. Drought monitor right now, as you can see, a lot of those conditions continue to be a little bit worse than where we were sitting at this time last week. This is a look at this time last week. And again, I'm going to take a step off screen here so you can kind of see it a little bit more visual. Just that slight change, as you can see right there, as it has built a little bit deeper into the area of Tala County. You guys don't have as deep of a, I guess you could call that a triangle, but it's a little bit taken away. That level 1 drought starting to affect you guys a bit more. That level 4 drought expanding ever so slightly there in Lowndes County. And then we do see that level 3 drought building more towards Bruce. So lots of things that we're continuing to look at over the next few days, but the biggest thing is just those dry conditions continuing to dominate our region. Just highlighting a few of these values right here. This is a look of percent of normal precipitation over the last 30 days. As you can see, Hernando, I mean, pretty well saturated, 140%. Same thing around Benton County, 167%. And Hollandale, the lone exception right there, I'm blocking it right here, 117%. So if you're not in any of those areas or any of those stretches, dry. Dry is the theme. Cleveland, as you can see, 50% out of the 100% that we need to stay right around our seasonable average. Bruce, same thing, 21%, actually a little bit lower. Our level 4 drought down there towards Columbus and Aliceville, 8%. 8%, Pickens County? Oh my word. We need some rainfall. And luckily, as we get into that extended forecast, we will be getting it 15% in Grenada. I mean, this just gets worse the more I click. I'm going to stop because this is definitely a forecast that we definitely need some rainfall for. So Mississippi Live weather radar across the region, dry conditions persist, and that's going to be what we expect into those overnight hours as clouds do build back into the forecast. Your park planner, if you want to go out to the park this evening, again, sunset's happening, so it might be a little bit too late now, but I did see some folks over at Ballard, 72 degrees, 8 p.m., 67, 10 p.m., and 65 by midnight. So temperatures cooling off, but not to the degree that what we saw the past few days. So it is going to be a more mild start to the day. Now there's a look at Futurecast overnight, and I'm going to zoom it out just ever so slightly because I want you to see how this moisture out in Little Rock really pushes into North Mississippi overnight. I mean, just gradually building east as that frontal boundary extends a little bit closer, and those winds already starting to shift just a bit more easterly winds for the start of our Friday. So overnight, expecting those dry conditions to persist, but that cloud cover building in, so expecting a mostly cloudy start to our Friday. Moisture's returning. This isn't out of the question. We kind of expected this as it prepares for that environment on our Saturday. So let's go ahead and get into our low temperature forecast. And of course, that is going to be cool for folks in northwest Alabama, 54 degrees in Hamilton. But the moment you add that cloud cover, we're talking 59 Boonville, 61 Amory, 60 in Starkville. Let's keep going west. 62 Senatobia, 64 Southaven, and 63 around Greenwood. It just continues to get warmer the further west you go. And reason why is because that cloud cover acts as a blanket, and any of that heat that's trying to escape overnight can't really do so. So it just reflects off of that, but it bounces back off that cloud cover, back to the surface, and we get to absorb it back here on the ground. So pick up for that school bus, going to be cool, but not as cool as what we've been seeing. 59 degrees around pickup and drop off 86 degrees. So it is going to be a warm day for our Friday, but luckily still dry. And that's what matters whenever it comes to those football forecasts. But let's get back into our Futurecast here real quick. And I'm going to again extend this out because we're not really paying attention to North Mississippi throughout our Friday. We're paying attention to that front extending a little bit more eastward into eastern Oklahoma. So there you can see 9 a.m. some of those prefrontal showers starting to develop just a bit more, maybe a few drops for our Friday, but overall we're keeping those mostly dry conditions. A lot of this that's starting to develop is going to be in the form of virga because a lot of us here at the surface are just too dry of an environment, and we'll need a lot of those showers to take place for it to kind of take away that dry air that we've been experiencing. So 12 p.m., even though you're getting those bits of green that are starting to form, I don't have a lot of that actually reaching the surface, a lot of those staying on the elevated side. So that's good for any outdoor plans we may have, and especially good for those football forecasts. Bringing it back in here around the 3 p.m. hour, we'll take it back here to North Mississippi. As you can see, that front is still in Oklahoma, and there you see those showers starting to form. Again, wouldn't be surprised to see a few drops down there around Panola County or Lafayette County as that continues to trend a little bit eastward. But that's really the extent of the moisture. It's not going to be significant rainfall at any point, and a lot of that does clear out. Even at those little sprinkles that are possible, clears out before those football games. So high temperatures on your Friday. As you can see, a toasty forecast. 86 in Tupelo, 89 Grenada, and 92 towards Greenwood. We are seeing 89 towards Clarksdale and Cleveland. Our record is 90 degrees. We're going to be right around that same point for a lot of locations. So a warm forecast heading into this Friday, not like the past few Fridays. I would dare say that a few of us might not need the long sleeves at all for our Friday night game time. 82 degrees by pregame, 73 by halftime, and 68 by that final snap. Last week, I believe we were in the low 60s wrapping up our Friday night football games. So 6-degree difference, yeah, that makes a difference whenever it comes to what we need to wear for that commute home. Clouds continue to remain in the forecast overnight, but not expecting a drop of rainfall for any of those Friday night games. Now, this is where I really want to expand things out because it'll show you the progression of that front as it gets closer to Arkansas and Mississippi overnight and into the start of our Saturday. So keep your eyes on North Mississippi right here. 10 p.m. on your Friday, continuing to see those partly cloudy conditions overnight and into the start of our Saturday, mostly clear for the most part. So what this is going to do is where those areas are clear, kind of builds back that moisture, builds back that heat, and makes for a very unstable environment by the afternoon. I mean, look at how breezy those conditions are coming out of the south. Anywhere from, I would say, 10 to 15 miles an hour, a realistic possibility for the start of our Saturday. And while it does feel good to get some of those winds, it's not exactly good for our setup because it does bring that unstable air. But as you can see, that front currently in Tulsa for the start of our Saturday. If we bring it back into North Mississippi right here, I gotta find the button, there we go. You can see a little bit of these prefrontal showers do push into the region. These, of course, eating up some of that energy and some of that moisture, so actually stabilizing the atmosphere as we get further into our Saturday afternoon. Now, how impactful these showers are will really depend on what takes place Saturday afternoon in regards to what we'll see Saturday evening. Again, sets the scene. So those moving through Calhoun County, Chickasaw County, and Lee County, as those continue to extend north and northeast, this threshold, let me see if I can draw here real quick to kind of show you what I'm trying to visualize. This threshold right there and east. That area is going to be more of a stabilized air mass compared to what we're getting west of that line. So west of that line is still clear. It's still not getting rained on, so it's still that unstable air mass that hasn't been used up whatsoever. That's the area to pay attention to as we get into those overnight hours, because that's where this front could move into North Mississippi and interact with that destabilized air mass still and maybe produce a few of those gusty winds. I mean, there you get a look right there. And as I was talking to Matt about a little bit of that bowing section that occurs right there towards the Memphis region, that would be an area of concern to watch for some gusty winds. And even back here towards Camden, Texarkana, and Pine Bluff, maybe a few of these possibly producing a brief tornado out there towards Arkansas. Kind of stabilizes a bit more because it is during night once it reaches North Mississippi, but that's the potential for Arkansas. Here in North Mississippi, it's more so going to be a straight line wind event, especially where those areas are starting to bow out just a bit more, that gradient a little bit stronger. So 60+ mile an hour wind gusts, a realistic possibility. But again, this is our strike model. And as we talked about at the top of the broadcast, this is worst case scenario as of right now because of the timing of which it occurs. You're talking about it entering the area by 7 o'clock during your Saturday evening and then starting to kick in with what's left of that energy in that atmosphere. I mean, there will be some left if it does move in around that time frame, but I think this is a bit fast in the grand scheme of things. So Saturday evening, that's when it has it moving on through, and that line still moving on through, and this looks like a very aggressive scenario. I don't think we're at this point, fortunately, because we definitely don't want those gusty winds or any tornadic activity, right? So let's go ahead and get into your high temperatures because this kind of sets the scene of what those parameters are for your Saturday. Hot temperatures already show an unstable environment, 87 in Houston, 89 Grenada, and 91 there towards Greenwood. You notice it's warmer out there in the Delta, and that warmer air will help to provide some of that energy for those storms to kind of lift and go forward. So Ole Miss against Georgia, traveling away from the showers, away from the action. Smart thinking, Lane Kiffin and the Rebels, because you guys got away from what could be an action-packed Saturday. 79 degrees for that first play, 80 in halftime, and 75 by that final snap. A top 8 matchup there in Athens, going to be a good one, and excited to see what the Rebels can do out back south to Florida. The Bulldogs escaped the rainfall as well. 82 degrees first play and 79 by halftime, and cooling off to the 72 by that final snap. Sunshine all game long, so you guys are in the sunshine state for a reason, right? Well, Tennessee is coming to town to take on Alabama in Bryant-Denny. First play, 83 degrees, but you notice that rain chances do return by halftime in that final snap. That could definitely vary in regards to how much coverage we're talking about, depending on A, how late these games go, but B, how fast that front is. And those two things will be something to pay attention to as we get out there towards Bryant-Denny, because I think this is a top 14 matchup, if I remember correctly, which it's a pretty big deal. A lot of fans going to be there, so hopefully we can get some great weather in the process. So while we are going into the 7-day, I want to let folks know in chat, we are not done talking about Saturday night's severe weather threat. We'll have more details coming up on that here in just a moment, so stay tuned with us. We'll talk more in detail and answer any questions you may have. Go ahead and put that in chat, and we'll talk through that forecast a little bit more in detail and answer whatever questions you may have. Partly cloudy conditions all day long for our Friday. Temperature-wise, climbing to 86 degrees from 59 at the start, so a little bit toastier than what we've been expecting. But as we head into the weekend, that cold front extends Saturday evening, brings that inclement weather threat, and then beyond that point, it's going to look like a good forecast. 87 dropping to 73 and then 64, basically flipping itself. And I don't blame it for flipping out over this forecast. Going to 46 degrees for the start of our Monday. Beyond that, temperatures climb just a bit as moisture enters back into the atmosphere. 30% chance of rainfall Tuesday. What that is another front moving through the region, dropping our temperatures once again to the low 70s for high temperatures by Wednesday and back into the mid to upper 40s. So long sleeves. Yeah, get those crates out, blow the dust off. You'll definitely need it towards next week, but we also need the rain gear for our Saturday forecast. We'll be walking through that forecast here in just a minute from the Room to Room Weather Center in a little bit more detail. Again, put your questions down in the chat about what that forecast is happening, any questions you may have about it for Saturday. We'll walk through that in more detail here in the Room to Room Weather Center coming up in the next 60.
If you love them enough to drive an hour to cheer them on as they get beat 11-0 in the rain, then surely you'll check NHTSA.gov/the-right-seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
You wonder how they're going to experience the real world in real safety, where all kids are welcome and everyone has a path forward to new skills, advancement, leadership, something they will carry with them the rest of their lives.
Saturday, Saturday, Saturday. We're all having our eyes on Saturday and kind of preparing for what to expect. Well, we have the latest details, and let's go ahead and walk through that forecast. Here's a look at the latest severe weather risk issued by the SPC in Norman, Oklahoma. Level 1 threat encompassing a large portion of North Mississippi, with level 2 out there towards Highway 61 for folks in Cleveland, Clarksdale, Tunica, and Senatobia. Now, we did talk yesterday that wouldn't be surprised if that was dropped back just a little bit. I felt like it was a bit ambitious extending that slight all the way to Lee County, but SPC kind of realizing that as well and pushing it back altogether. That bullseye still in Little Rock, Arkansas, and you can kind of see where this threat currently sits as we look across the what would this be? Not fully eastern United States, but almost there. At least, you know, the Mississippi River, Mississippi Valley, that's what we'll call it. So level 2 risk for Arkansas, southern Missouri, southern Illinois, and western Tennessee. And again, northwest Mississippi is included within that, but that level 1 threat is the one that we're watching a little bit more in detail, as that does encompass us a little bit more. So yes, it is possible to see severe weather, but in regards to what we will actually get impacts from, it's more likely going to be rainfall and a few of those thunderstorms rolling on through. I'm not fully sold on us getting numerous severe weather reports. That level 1 threat is issued due to the number of reports we expect, and that number shouldn't be overly high. So here we get a look at our Friday 8 p.m. futurecast. And let's go ahead and get into this futurecast in a little bit more detail. And we talked about this already, but I want to re-emphasize one of our more aggressive models. So here's a look at that front. And this is about 3 a.m. on your Saturday, still in Oklahoma. We're talking about this thing picking up double time in regards to the speed of this system for it to reach all the way into North Mississippi by the time we get towards our Saturday, in this case, afternoon. So there you see that stretch of showers and storms still towards Tulsa and Springfield. And as we get further into the forecast, you can see it already reaching there towards Fayetteville, Arkansas, and then on into the rest of the northwest Arkansas area. So this is 9 a.m. and I'm looking for the measuring tool here because, I mean, just talking about the grand scheme of things, we're still 200 miles from reaching northwest Mississippi. And that's the area that's under that level 2 threat. So we keep this going, you can kind of see that it's inching closer and closer, but a lot of this action is ahead of that front, our front, where the temperatures will actually change a little bit behind this. But this is still the line to be watching, as some of those leading edges could have those gusty wind situations. And especially as these, I mean, it kind of has 2 sections right here. Again, this will kind of be a linear segment as it rolls on through. So there we get into Saturday at 6 p.m. Fully reaching us here in the northwest Mississippi area, just right on the outskirts. Let's go ahead and bring it back into town here real quick. And you can see that leading edge right there where that gradient is just a little bit tighter and starting to bow out just a bit. Could be what we call a bow echo. And that's what Futurecast is kind of showing right here. So could be getting a few of those stronger wind gusts towards Forest City, Arkansas, and maybe potentially get a warning up there towards DeSoto County for our Saturday evening. But guys, we're talking about Saturday at 6 p.m. when this storm started during Saturday morning all the way in central Oklahoma. Now, is that believable? It's possible for sure, but based off what other models have been saying, I feel like this is a little bit too speedy for this system to reach our area, but this is why it's worst case scenario, because when does sunset happen? We're at 6:30 right now, sun's fully setting on the horizon, but that daytime heating is still there as of this point. So 6 p.m., you're still looking at an unstable atmosphere out here towards the Mississippi Delta, and that's why when these storms fully move in, we're going to see some potentially impactful storms if it moves in from 6 to 7 o'clock. But beyond that, 9 p.m., those leading edges still producing some gusty winds, albeit it might not be severe weather thresholds, but a few of those containing 30, 40 mile an hour gusts could knock down some of those loose objects, some dying trees by chance as we have been under those drought conditions. But I don't believe that we are going to be as filled with energy out here along Highway 45 as folks out west. And that's the good thing in this forecast, is I feel like that best threat is going to be out there towards Arkansas. Now, as that extends further into the region, a lot of those reds are popping up. That's going to be more of those thunderstorms along the leading edge. Still could have some gusty winds, but again, I'm not fully sold on that severe weather threat beyond it going through I-55. So if you want to see severe weather, which I don't know why you would want to, but that would be more towards Arkansas and west, far northwest Mississippi. Now, this is something that we pull up right here called model reliability. And what that means is this is a look at models over time, just how they have shifted, changed, anything that there's a difference. And our older data is going to be more in the darker data, and then the brighter ones is going to be newer model runs. So let's zoom back here, and you can kind of see how the newer model is starting to get a little bit of this prefrontal activity there towards Oklahoma and on there towards Fayetteville, Arkansas. This is still 12 p.m. on your Friday, and this is still a front that's lagging way far behind. Now, as we get further into our afternoon, you can kind of see how this really starts to develop a bit more. Yes, a bit more there towards Fayetteville by 6 a.m. There we go. And that's a lot of that newer data, a lot of those brighter colors returning. But as we get more into that 12 o'clock hour, and let me zoom in here because I feel like you'll be able to see it just a bit better. You can kind of see there are some darker colors back behind and brighter colors way out ahead. What does this mean? Well, this means over the last few model runs that this has kind of pushed this front a little bit quicker, moving through Arkansas and Missouri compared to what model runs have had here previously. And that does tell a story, because that does mean that models are having it get here quicker. At least our strike model is. And that's why I'm excited to see the HRRR moving forward, or the HRRR model, another one of our high resolution model runs, because this will kind of tell us where that front will be by 6 p.m. on our Saturday. And that's a little bit more reliable in the grand scheme of things, because that's what we've used over the last few severe weather events and has done pretty decent on those outputs. So curious to see what it has, if it aligns with our strike model. Again, this is what I believe is worst case scenario. And so far, long track model runs more have it moving through on midnight. So multiple time frames still being issued. This is going to be, again, your worst case scenario. So let's expand it back here just a bit. And you can see as that moves towards that 3 o'clock hour and 6 p.m. hour, I mean, a lot of that older system, it's kind of hard to see on the TV. I'm realizing that now. But a lot of this action back here towards the Russellville and Harrison area, some of those darker colors, brighter out here towards Newport and Forest City. So these are the newest model runs that are forecasting this, whereas beforehand, it wasn't as impressive. Actually, I can turn this off here real quick. I'm going to take off the newest model run, and we're going to expand it out here all the way to that point that we just looked at. And there you kind of get a visual. And if I bring it back, there's the difference. So we're talking about it being as far, Gassville, that's a funny name. We're talking about as far east as Gassville and Russellville. If we bring this back, there it reaches all the way to Forest City. Difference, big time. I mean, we're looking at probably 50 to 60 mile difference. And that's a whole hour to 2 hours difference on an already aggressive model run. So of course it's going to forecast this in the grand scheme of things. So that's why I'm very curious to see if this will actually verify and line up with the other short range models that we have. This one coming out before a lot of our other ones. So we'll look at that more in detail tonight at 10 in regards to what exactly will take place and how these line up all together. But Futurecast for fuel, this kind of give you a good idea on what we're dealing with here in North Mississippi. Very little fuel for that morning time. I mean, I know it's showing those bright reds, but look at where bright reds rank on the scale right here, the legend at the top of your screen. The limited side of things, and almost to the very limited side of things. Extreme would be more of those yellows and whites, and we're not getting any of that here for that prefrontal development. And so a lot of that is going to be showers, maybe a few rumbles of thunder, but I'm not overly sold on a prefrontal severe weather event. I think we're staying pretty tame on that leading edge. But then we get into our afternoon, and again, a lot of those still showing up are reds, reds, darker reds, and then a little bit of orange down there towards Hollandale and down there towards Belzona. That has the potential to maybe have a few of those gusty winds as well, but the feel not overly high for this system. I mean, that's the thing about it, is that I'm just not overly sold on the amount of energy that we have in our atmosphere. And yes, that does progress a little bit more east, but that is as limited as you can get when it comes to fuel in the grand scheme of things. And of course, you're going to have some fuel as those fronts roll on through. Fronts need fuel to survive. And so that's why, yes, this is a sustainable amount of fuel, but not exactly an enhancing amount of fuel. And that's what I'm not fully sold on in the grand scheme of things. And really, if we zoom it out, you can see that we have brighter colors out here towards the southern end of Arkansas and all the way into Louisiana. Potential for severe weather there for sure. Here in North Mississippi, not exactly the case. And as we look at Sunday at 3 a.m., that continues to roll on through, and some of those brighter returns do happen, but this is going to be on the back side of the front. So this isn't exactly the leading edge at this point either. A lot of those showers still going to be being produced out here towards Columbus and Macon, and then on there towards Alabama, closer to our Sunday morning. And that's when those brighter colors return, maybe getting a marginal risk there for Sunday, but I'm just not overly sold on this event. I don't know. I haven't been sold on it the past few days, and models have verified that, and SPC kind of pulling back a little bit more shows that they're kind of on board with that a little bit as well. I think they remain in place with a marginal risk here in North Mississippi and keep that level 2 risk for Northwest Mississippi. But short-range model runs will really be the driver in that forecast, and we'll touch more on that here at the 10 o'clock hour on Mississippi Live Weather. Of course, all of that clears on out, and we're left with the dry forecast beyond that point and a little bit something to look forward to. So as of right now, what are our confidence levels for each severe weather impact? Well, low confidence for tornado. I would say this is a non-zero threat. Non-zero means that the atmosphere is not exactly primed for it. We're not ruling out a brief spin up, but I mean, we're not talking about a outbreak of tornadoes. It's not anywhere close to that. We're going to talk about maybe one or two out there towards Arkansas, especially here in North Mississippi. I wouldn't say our environment is as ideal as it needs to be for tornadoes to occur. But winds, especially with those areas that start to bow out just a bit, could get some of those strong wind returns. 60 plus mile an hour possible. I would say that 30 to 40 realistic possibility even on the sub-severe part of those storms. Low risk for large hail. That's an inch in diameter or greater. And then flash flooding possible. Medium risk right now. And I wouldn't be surprised if that increased just a bit because of those strong rainfall and honestly what we're seeing beyond the front. So here at Mississippi Live Weather, we're continuing to keep eyes behind the scenes on the skies and for what we'll expect in the grand scheme of things on Saturday. But that's where our belief stands right now. Again, we're not overly sold on this forecast just yet. We think it's a realistic possibility for Northwest Mississippi, depending on how much fuel is left whenever that line swings on through. But the timing of the line remains the golden question. When do we expect it to move through? And we'll have that answer hopefully a little bit more ironed out by 10 o'clock this evening. And so that's why you guys need to come back and stay tuned because we'll have that answer a little bit more ironed out by then. So just thank you guys for joining us this evening, and we hope that we answered at least a few of your questions in regards to how things are trending. We're keeping eyes on it, and if this were to ramp up just a bit, we'll of course be the first to let you know. But as of right now, it's where our confidence sits, and we'll see where it goes from there. I hope you guys have a fantastic night. If you've not So you can track Saturday yourself and then come back here on Mississippi Live Weather for our live shows to kind of interpret that a little bit more in detail. 5, 6, and 10 always available. And of course, we'll be back here tonight at 10 to, again, give you the latest on those model runs. So you need to join, to say the least. And then morning time, we'll be back at 6:37 and 7:30 to give you the very latest on your day ahead. So excited to talk to you guys more tonight. But until then, have a fantastic evening. And please, please, please go outside before then. We appreciate you guys. We'll see you back here tonight at 10.
You're not gonna get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff.
Mama!
Like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
1 in 10 kids vape. Each vape pod can contain the same amount of nicotine as a pack of cigarettes.
The Health Class Film Guy isn't the best person to talk to your kid about vaping.
Got a few minutes?
You are. Talk to your child about vaping today.